Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the showdown between the Vampire Counts led by Vlad von Karstein and the Greenskins who are going to be led by the Baconator. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So in the front line here, I do have 3 groups of zombies in total. The reason I like to put the zombies staggered and up ahead of my Graveguard is simply because of the WA ability. So as you guys know, the Greenskins do have a global WA now, which is extremely powerful, and I think in total it lasts 30 seconds. I know if they bring Azag with the Scroll of Power, you can pop it twice, but it looks like he has Warzog. But regardless, I like to bring the zombies, send them in first, and what I found is that most Greenskin players, as soon as they see their front line is engaged, even if it's with like chaff and it's not engaged with the primary front line of their enemy, they're just going to pop that WA effect. And I found that to be quite common, and that's why I put the zombies up, because they usually pop the WA, waste it on the zombies, and by the time they get to your Graveguard, it's not going to be as impactful if it's still up. So that's pretty much it for the zombies. In the secondary lineup, a couple Graveguard with great weapons, and if you're going to be using Graveguard as more of a defensive capability and allowing your monstrous units like the Vargulfs here in the back to do the damage, I would definitely recommend the Sword and Shield variant. They do have silver shields, and Rustiers and Greenskin Skirmishers are quite popular in most matchups. You can see my opponent has Morgubs, he has Death's Creepers, I think he even has the T-Frobbers over there, so having the shields on these guys definitely helps a little bit, and their melee defense is simply higher. I think the Great Weapon variant has melee defense in like the low 20s. Obviously, they're going to be less effective against Black Orcs, but they're basically going to hold longer and allow my Vargulfs in the back to do the heavy lifting. Also, Vlad. Vlad's a pretty good choice, especially against Warzog, simply because he's basically impossible to kill. He's very, very tanky. He does, of course, have the Blood Drinker here, which is an item that you choose to bring, and it basically just perpetually heals him. If he's fighting like Grimgore or, is being attacked by an enemy, Big Boss or Lord or pretty much anything of value, you can use the Master of Beguilement on them to lower their melee attack by 44, so I like him quite a bit. And he does have the Aura of Dark Grandeur, which lowers leadership by 4, which against Greenskins isn't bad. Double Vargulfs. This is something new I've been experimenting with. The Vargulfs are not bad. I mean, heavy AP, so they're basically the answer to Black Orcs. And Black Orcs are one of the more common frontline picks you see here. But in order for the Vargulfs to be effective, you need to shut down the Greenskin missiles. And as such, we do have 2 groups of Fellbats. We have a very heavy Cav presence. Blood Knights, we have the Dire Pack, we have the Varix Reavers over here. So we have a ton of Cav. And if we can shut down the back line, we should be okay. And those Vargulfs should take my opponent's troops to Pound Town with their fear and terror and all kinds of good stuff. For my opponent, front line of Black Orcs, look like he totally does have 3. He's got 2 groups of Orc Biggins on the outside, which are pretty good against Vampire Counts. Anti-large against Cav, good against Cryptors, good against Vargulfs, and pretty much any sort of monstrous unit. So I definitely like that pick. He's got the Baconator with Fists of Gork, there we go. Brainbuster, he's got a Goblin Big Boss. Broken Tusk Mob in the back, of course, a more armored variant, and they actually hold their own against Vampire Counts Cav with their 90 armor. Of course, they'll still get skewered and put on to roast and spit by the Blood Knights, but, not bad. Goblin Archers, the Rustiers, and Skirmisher Cav, like I said, you guys already saw those, and that is pretty much it. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road, boys. Right now, the zombies are pushing forward, just kind of using my Fellbats to try and prod, and I wait till we get very close to the point where these guys are actually a threat, and then I just send in the Fellbats, and I don't really care about losing them. It's just basically to shut them down. And you can see my opponent did have them on skirmish here, so they're going to be retreating. In the meantime, the Varix Reavers, I screened these Skirmisher Cav out, but I took huge damage, so good stuff for my opponent. And I do have my Dire Pack chasing down the T-Frobbers, and the Dire Pack would just feast on their souls. And you can see we get a good engagement. My opponent does respond with the Broken Tusk Mob, and look at this. As soon as he starts fighting the zombies, he pops the WA. And yeah, the Vargulfs are in there, but for the most part, I should be relatively safe. So we're getting in there, doing some decent damage. Of course, they do chew through those zombies really quick, so I lose a whopping 600 gold. And since the Blood Knights were, I couldn't really get around these Orc Biggins very easily, so I decided to pull back through the front line, and there is a big opening here I can take. So definitely feeling a little bit confident there. But in the meantime, the Vargulfs are going to be taking these Black Orcs to town, and the Black Orcs did chew through those zombies. But now the Graveguard come in, and Vlad is also going to be charging in with other troops, and the WA effect is basically over, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it looks like it has like 3 or 4 seconds left. So that was definitely good. FG of the Git is going to be going down on my Vargulf right here, pinning him down, allowing Warzog, and the Goblin Big Boss was coming in, but my Blood Knights do intercept through the center pocket. And the Dire Pack in the back and the Fellbats are able to chase off those Goblin Archers. This other group, though, the Rustiers, the more important one, is rescued by the Broken Tusk Mob, so hopefully those guys don't get back anytime soon. In the meantime, on the far side of the battlefield, my Varix Reavers are basically just in a monotonous chase over here, trying to catch these Morgubs Magi Marauders, who have really good AP. At least the Varix Reavers, I was like, okay, if someone's going to be a sacrificial lamb, these guys are pretty good, because they do have shields as well as regeneration. So just kind of a back and forth trying to waste my opponent's time, but he's definitely getting the upper hand on the outside here. In the main fight, though, zombies are all but crumbled. Over here, my Graveguard are getting crumbled as well. Looks like a Brainbuster going down to trigger the Bonewood Staff. But the Vargulfs are kind of running around with impunity, and the Blood Knights have engaged with the Broken Tusk Mob. Vlad is also over here as well. You can see he had a nice little prison shank right there on that guy. And the Blood Knights are doing very well, especially with Von Hells, which is going to give them speed as well as melee attack. So these piggies are having a hard time, and Looks like he's finally getting some Overwatch fire from his Rusty Arrows here, but my Fellbats, who I did pull back earlier, are coming in, and you can also see the Varix Reavers are just going to get a huge just lance charge right here on these Rusty Arrows, which is going to be very good because they're one of the few answers, aside from the Biggins, that my opponent has left to my Vargulf play here. So the Vargulf's just kind of happily trotting back and forth. The Blood Knights were able to dismember those piggies there. You can see the Broken Tusk Mob is having to run. Now he claps in, and I'm trying to get on Wurzog, but he's a very slippery piece of bacon, so he pulls out the back. Very good tactic there, of course. Anytime you're being chased by a monster, just pull through your own troops. You're going to have a little bit of an easier time. The Orc Biggins are now engaged on some of the ideal targets. They're killing the zombies. They have finished off the Dire Pack for the most part. They're getting a couple attacks into the Vargulfs, but for the most part, the Vargulfs are able to just manhandle that Goblin Big Boss, which is really nice because the Goblin Big Boss, again, relatively high DPS. It's mobile, something else that could kill the Vargulfs, and the Blood Knights come in and just give them the business there. So just using the Vargulfs and their mass to screen out the Teeth Robbers, but they're robbing some teeth, but it looks like mostly the teeth of some summoned skeletons here, so kind of a fake teeth that will dissipate in time. And the Vargulfs and Vlad, I basically just wanted to clean up the center pocket, get rid of these Black Orcs, and from there I could roam to this side, kill these Black Orcs, and then, come back across the way. And, my opponent basically solidified this side of the battlefield. Bounce bar is very even. Over here, his Orc Biggins and his Black Orcs were able to crush my Grave Guard. I've also lost the Dire Pack, and my Cav is starting to get really beat up. You can see the Varix Reavers are still fighting, but I did charge in to finish off the Teeth Robbers, but Orc Biggins were able to screen me out, so I'm just trying to avoid these guys. Thankfully, they're pretty slow with 24 speed while poisoned right now. And you can see the Blood Knights just kind of feigning a charge here, but it's just taking massive casualties on that. So the Vargulfs seem to be pretty good. Large, mobile, they cause fear and terror, which is always good against Greenskins, and every time Wurzog or Goblin Big Bosses or those other troops do come into the battle, I'm able to just chase them off. Because the Vargulfs do have a 53 speed, I think. Oh, wow, they actually have 80 speed? That's insane. Well, I guess they're kind of like giant mutated bats, so that would kind of make sense that they're quick. But, man, 80 speed is incredibly quick. That can't be right. 80 speed on these Vargulfs? Man, I guess that's pretty damn good. But over here on this side of the battlefield, my opponent was coming over with a relatively massive Wa, some Biggins, some Black Orcs. So I summoned some skeletons and zombies over here to kind of muck him up, or just zombies. That's a really good tactic with vampire counts. If you guys are playing vampire counts, kind of spatial control. So you use the, Vlad von Karstein, any other summoner unit, and if you're winning one part of the battlefield, roam your forces over, like rotate over, kind of like a linebacker would in American football. Hit those forces, and when your opponent tries to pursue with his defending units, you can summon zombies and other, spooky beasts to kind of pin them down for like 2 or 3 wins of magic, which is so good. So under the wall going down right here, you can see the Vargulfs are going to be spanking on Wurzog. I do also use Master of Beguilement to make sure he doesn't hit back terribly hard, because obviously Vlad isn't going to catch him. But trying to, get my bearings here and make sure the Vargulfs are stacked on top of the Sternsman. But this other Vargulf does get surrounded and is taking a lot of damage. Its leadership is at 1 right now. Of course, Biggins are very good against Vargulfs if they can actually catch them. But the Baconator does overextend a little bit and take some damage from this big fluffy bat right here. And you can see Vlad will be making his way in. And in the meantime, a very tattered Cav charge coming in. But again, against Greenskins' leadership, this is going to be pretty good. So the Greenskins just getting folded up right there by that charge from the Blood Knights and the Varix Reavers. And now if we look at the balance of power, it is a little bit in my favor, as Vlad is in very good health, and my 2 Vargulfs, one of them is, took a ton of damage there. It's down to like half health after that FG of the get. But one of the big things is, yes, I've been taking casualties and chasing Death's Creepers and the Teeth Robbers and some of these other troops, but they haven't been shooting at Vargulfs. Those were basically my opponent's answers to these big Vargulfs. They're mobile. They could have I don't know if the 80 speed though. That's just doesn't seem like it used to be that fast. But anyways, yeah, that was kind of his answer there, was those mobile missile units that could really punish the Vargulfs and do some heavy lifting there. Out here you can see the remnants of the Blood Knights and some of the Varix Reavers are attacking Wurzog, and he is a little bit surrounded here. He does have a Goblin Big Boss helping him out, but Vlad is just absolutely beasting it. And of course, the Aura of Dark Grandeur is going to start coming into effect with his -4 leadership that he gives to all nearby enemy units. And Vlad coming in with the overhand right. Vargulf's coming in as well, and now that there's zombies and Vlad fighting here, I didn't feel so bad pushing into these Biggins. And knowing that the Greenskins were pretty close to having a mass rout, I figured it was time to Alpha Strike. So you can see that Wurzog here is terrified. He's at like very low leadership, like 9, -12 right there. And that is probably going to be all she wrote for the Greenskins. The Biggins are fighting pretty hard. He is able to get a nice little wrap here and finish off my Cav units, but for the most part, I still have a couple of groups of Graveguard left. I have the Vargulf, and Vlad von Karstein is still pretty much in perfect shape. So well played to my opponent. It was quite a ferocious one. And, a lot of times people will go with, Manfred or use the Red Duke just to kind of like really Lord Goon. But I think that Vlad von Karstein is a very good like battlefield commander against the Greenskins. He really helps you hold that front line with his tankiness, and of course the his Aura of Dark Grandeur is okay, but I really like him being tanky because the Greenskins with their focus fire can really take down a lot of big beasties, and he's like dirt cheap too. He's like what, 1700 when you strip down his ability, so The Vargulfs worked really well, but again, in order for Vargulf play to be effective, you need to be able to punish archers. And we had adequate tools. We had Blood Knights, we had basically 3 cav units. We also had a couple Fellbats. So I feel like that was really essential to our victory because obviously Black Orcs would just annihilate Graveguard in a straight fight. So you need that AP to really do the trick there. But yeah, I feel like the build worked okay. I'd be interested to see what you guys think about it. And for my opponent's build, a Melancholy War Elephant. Definitely a great name there. Warzog, big boss, definitely like it. What I would have liked to have seen from my opponent would be, I mean, I liked his build quite a bit, but I think there could be, Tief Robbers are just kind of a funny one. He was probably just memeing me there a little bit, but a couple Nazi Skulkers in the back line and switch the Goblin Archers to Orc Airboys because they can actually beat back skeletons and zombies pretty effectively. And also having Nasty Skulkers to smoke bomb down my cav, allow his biggins to get a little bit more saturated, and also could have provided support to the Broken Tusk mob, would just be my 2 cents. But anyways, again, very well played to my opponent. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that Vampire Counts game. I know it's been a long time since we've had vampires on the channel, so hopefully that satisfies you guys. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you guys next time, and take care.